Good morning, everyone. So let's get started. I'm Maya Ingram. I'm the manager of the Statewide Hub program. This is Ingrid. She is, I believe, at another part of this event, and so she is not here, but she will be with us later today.
Welcome to the Houston Minority Supplier Development Council's premier event of the year for minority business development, Expo 2022, where you can experience exponential growth for your company. Expo is one of the most successful events of its kind and is Texas's largest minority business trade fair, supporting the advancement of the minority business community across the HMSDC service territory. We are committed to working with all of you to make Expo 2022 our most successful event ever, which means exponential growth of knowledge for you and your business. The intent of the Expo is to assist corporations, prime suppliers, educational institutions, and government agencies in identifying minority business enterprises capable of meeting their product and service needs. And from an MBE perspective, the conference provides a forum for MBEs to identify current business opportunities and learn about the buying process from key governmental agencies. This is why this morning's opening session focuses on access and opportunities with the state of Texas. We want to empower you with information and insight on how to do business with state agencies, universities, and to support the health and human services needs of our state. Get out your paper, pens, and tablets to take notes, as this session will be full of useful information to help demystify the state buying process. Again, welcome to HMSDC's Expo 2022.
Thank you. So again, welcome everyone for being here today. I'd like to introduce Lauren Ott, Taylor Harkey, Kyle Gavitt, and Laura Sarate.
Such a dainty applause. Thank you. Can y'all hear me? I don't project quite as well. Okay. Can you hear me now? Better, worse? Tiff? Okay, I'll just yell at you. So I'm Lauren Ott. I'm the Marketing and Outreach Coordinator for the Statewide Hub program. So I'm going to start off a little bit, and then my colleague Taylor, who works with the CMBL program, will take over and teach y'all about some business resources. So actually, really quick, the Statewide Hub program just got a brand new program logo up at the top. Ooh, let me do my pointer right here. So we have a brand new logo. We just did a whole rebrand. If you're a Hub vendor, we'll also have a Hub vendor logo that you can now put on any marketing materials you might have. If you're interested in that, come talk to me. I can give you my business card and I can hook you up with that new logo as well. So we have exciting new things coming with the Statewide Hub program. A quick overview, I'll go over the Statewide Hub program as a whole, and then I'll bring Taylor in to go over the business resources, and then we'll save some time at the end for Q&A. So, the Statewide Hub program. We are the historically underutilized business program. We are under the Comptroller of Public Accounts within the Procurement Division. The policy of the Comptroller is to encourage the use of hubs in the state procurement process. And then the purpose of this program is to promote a good faith effort business opportunities for all businesses in the state's procurement. If you're thinking about getting Hub certified or you need a refresher on the qualifications if you're with an agency, the disadvantaged owner groups in the state's procurement are identified as Asian American, Black American, Hispanic American, Native American, American woman, and service-disabled veteran as defined by at least a 20% disability. The additional owner qualifications, you must be a U.S. citizen, except for qualified service-disabled veterans. You must be a resident of Texas for at least 1 year. And you must maintain active participation in control, operations, and management entities. As far as the business, it must be 51% owned by a minority, woman, or service-disabled veteran with at least a 20% disability. And the business must be primarily based in Texas. And then you must meet the small business size standards. So I know I'm going over this really fast. You don't have to furiously take notes. We will make this presentation available after, and you'll be able to access all of these links as well. And Ingrid did a great job of explaining what HMSDC is. HMSDC is actually one of our MOAs, or Memorandum of Agreement organizations. So they can provide you with the SBE, DBE, MBE, WBE certifications, and we also allow them to provide a hub certification to you at no extra cost. So HMSD is a great resource if you want to get multiple certifications, as well as a hub certification. Again, that will be no extra cost to you as well. They're a great resource if you have needs for networking, business development. Definitely reach out to them. We're really happy to partner with them today. And then again, here's all of their information on the side. Again, you'll have access to these slides to check out their website. And then additional support organizations for small businesses. If maybe you just started your business or wanting to strengthen your business, need resources, or even if you're applying for Hub certification and need help going through the process or organizing your documentation, these 3 resources are great to use. There's PTAC centers, Procurement Technical Assistance Centers, SBDC or Small Business Development Centers, and then SCORE, which is the Service Corps of Retired Executives. So great resources. Again, you'll have access to these as well if you need any assistance with Hub certification or just need some support through your journey with your business. So I'll hand it over to Taylor. He's going to talk about the CMBL and some other business resources.
Yes, thank you. I'm Taylor Harkey. I'm with the CMBL. It's nice to be here. The CMBL is a master database for our purchasers to create a mailing list so they can mail out opportunities for procurements, solicitations, I'm sorry. The cost is $70 per year, and the membership starts the date you pay and expires 1 year after that date. The CMBL, how it can help you is it will open new opportunities to the state. The state is always putting out solicitations for procurement, and hubs are number 1. State agencies are required to use CMBL to provide procurement notifications to hub vendors to meet good faith expectation. So on the comptroller.texas.gov website, we always go to the purchasing tab. If you're an existing vendor, you'll sign in on the web file eSystems login, and you'll find the CMBL within that link. If you're not, then you'll go to the purchasing tab at the top, where you'll find all your vendor resources, the CMBL hub, modify your profile, ESBD, and then on the left-hand side under procurement resources, you'll find your NIGP commodity book and search for vendors. So now we've clicked on the CMBL up here under vendor resources, and it takes you to this page on the website where you'll see the CMBL application and related links. These links will be very helpful to you, all the different policy and updates. So back on the other page when I said that if you're an existing user, you would log in here. It takes you to this eSystems page where you'll put your profile password, and then if you're a first-time user, you'll click Create Profile. Under the Purchasing tab again, you'll find NIGP Commodity Book, where you'll find resources. I like to use the keyword search on the right-hand side. Where's this thing at? Right here on the right-hand side under Resources, you'll find keyword search. So the vendors are responsible, you see the note at the bottom, vendors are responsible for registering and creating their profile with up-to-date contact information, accurate NIGP codes, and highway districts. If you have a CMBL profile currently and you're not getting solicitation notifications, you'll want to check your NIGP codes to make sure they're accurate in your highway district. When say I'm a purchaser and I put in a solicitation, I use what we call NIGP codes, National Institute of Governmental Purchasing Codes, and that generates the list of you vendors for us to email and say, hey, we've put out a solicitation, we want you to go bid on it. So that has to be accurate or we will not get your information pulled up. Once you go to the keyword search, you'll see this. Right here at the top, you see 001 to 899 are products, and 900 to 999 are services. So in my example, I use landscape. You see 81071, that is a product. Somebody is selling spray equipment, landscape, machine-powered equipment for landscaping. And 90656 is landscape architectural services. That is a service, this is a product. And so we used landscape, and it gave us 2 codes. Landscaping, just adding the ing, gave us 3 different codes. CIP landscaping, landscaping consulting, and then landscaping including design, fertilizing, and such. These are all services. 900s are services. And I use this example just to show you mowing, which would be, in my opinion, would be a service. Here you see it's a product, a mower, tractor, self-prepared mower. That's a service. I mean, that's a product. A service is 988 grounds and roadside maintenance. But if you look at this one, 98875, it says roadside maintenance. Please see commodity code 988 effective January 1, 2016. This code is inactive. If you have this code in your profile, we will not see that vendor profile. You need to update it to this code. And this happens not too often, but it does happen enough for you to go in and check your profile to make sure they're accurate. The ESBD, state purchasers must post procurement opportunities, over 25,000 on the ESBD for the general public to search. That is a must, they have to. ESBD, you can search by NIGP code, keywords, etc., or by the entity. Search all actions postings that show past, canceled, and current postings. So if you hear about a posting and you hear it closes next week, and you look at it and it's not under current or posted, you can go back to canceled or closed and see if it's been closed out and you didn't get that notice. So back in the purchasing tab on the comptroller's website, that's every time you go to the comptroller.texas.gov, you'll use the purchasing tab. We're going to go down here to ESBD. Vendors do not sign in on the ESBD. It's public information. You can log in. I mean, you don't log in. This is for our purchasers to log in to post the solicitations. I've typed in landscaping in our keyword search since that's my business. And you see 2 results found. These are current, due date 9/29, and due date 9/8/22. These were current when I made this. They're not current now. So I clicked on Landscape JOC, to where you'll see up here the solicitation contact information, when it's due, what date it's due, and the last time it was modified. And then below that, you'll see the solicitation description, where it gives you a broad description of, this one's actually pretty nice. Some of them are like 1 sentence. This is the description, and here are the NIGP codes that they used. So 91141 is a service. 98852 is also a service. And below here, this is the instructions for bid, the attachments. You'll never bid on txsmartbuy.com. You will click on this attachment, and it'll give you instruction where to bid, where to send it. If it's a closed sealed bid, you have to mail it in, or if it's email, it'll give you that information to give that, to bid on that solicitation. And then I wanted to point out that Texas spent $1.6 billion with hubs from September 21 to March of 22. That's how many months is that? 6 months? That's half a year, yeah, 6 months. So $1.6 billion with hubs in half a year. That's pretty incredible. Lauren's going to go over the takeaways and steps for success. Thank you, Lauren.
Yeah. Okay, thanks, Taylor. So that's a lot of really helpful information on resources. Some great takeaways, of course. If you're not Hub certified, we're always going to encourage you to get Hub certified. It's a free 4-year certification if you go through the comptroller. And there's 2 ways to get certified. You can go through MOAs like HMSDC, or you can go through the comptroller agency, and that's through our program directly. Make sure if you're on the CMBL that you have accurate vendor profile information. So use accurate NIGP codes. Don't just like copy paste the entire book and put it in your profile. That's not going to work well for you or the agencies. And also make sure you have up-to-date contact information. A lot of times we'll get feedback like, oh, I'm not hearing anything on the CMBL or getting any bid responses. The first thing we're going to say is go check your NIGP codes and make sure that you have up-to-date contact information. And usually it's one of those things. Also, if you're not on the CMBL, we highly recommend. It's a $70 annual fee. And then you do not have to be certified to be on the CMBL. And then those purchasers use that list to notify you of bid opportunities. So it's a great resource. It's probably the resource that we push the most for vendors to get on. And then search the ESBD, be proactive, see what's out there. Search it regularly. It's always getting updated. And that's another great resource for you. And then reach out to us. We're here to help you as well. I think I have our next slide here. Again, if you want to take a picture of this slide, you can always reach out to us. The statewide hub program at cpa.texas.gov. is our generic email inbox, and that goes straight to me. So I'm happy to answer any questions you have, and I have an amazing boss and team to help support and answer any questions you might have. And then if you have any questions about the CMBL as well, those can be shot over to Taylor, and he'll help you with any CMBL questions. So we have some time to take questions. I know we went a little fast. We're trying to catch up on time. But does anyone have any questions for Statewide Hub or about CMBL or anything we covered?
I have a question. So I know if you're a hub through the MOA through HMSDC, just as we have to renew our HMSDC certification every year, and I know they send that list over to you guys, have you guys considered just making those folks for you as well, so you don't have to wait for that information to come from HMSDC?
So the question is, if you get certified through HMSDC, they control how long your hub certification lasts for, and you said it a year, right? Yeah. So every year you're having to renew your certification. And so the question was, have we considered adjusting their certification timeline to 4 years? And the answer is we don't really have any power to do that. It's HMSDC's decision. So you could potentially certify through the comptroller once yours lapses with HMSDC, and then you could get that 4-year certification. But if you're getting like MBE, DBE, SBE, WBE certifications, it's kind of a one-stop shop. So, you know, if you're already going to have to renew those every year, you could also get hub certified. It's what fits your business. It's what's best for you. I know the application is a doozy. We actually just came up with a training presentation as well to hopefully help make it less intense. So that's another resource too. But it's up to you and your business, what's best for you, how often you want to do the paperwork. But yeah.
It looks like the rules for qualifying for HUB are the same as the rules for qualifying as an MBE certified company with HMBC. Is there a way of getting automatically the HUB certifications once we get the HMBC certification? Because it's the same process and the same rules.
Yes. So the question is, can you get automatically hub certified while you're getting like other minority certifications with HMSDC? So you can get them all at the same time through HMSDC, but if you're going through the statewide hub program, we can only hub certify you. So you could do that through HMSDC when you're applying for your MBE, DBE certifications, and let them know that you would also like to be hub certified, and they can do it all at the same time.
Sorry if I was not clear. I was not asking about the same time. I was asking about the same process.
Oh, I see. HMSDC, do they not? Do we have anyone from HMSDC? No.
So
That would be a good.
What was the
You apply
question?
for one and you get the two.
The same app. It is the same.
When you certify through HMSDC, they do certify you as hub. It gets uploaded into the CMBL as hub.
Okay.
Yeah.
It does. Yeah.
It's being done.
I would
Okay,
make
wonderful.
sure though, once you get your certification, go to your CMBL profile and make sure that the transfer of data was correct, because sometimes it will upload just the name and your hub certification, and it omits the phone number, email address, contact, and all that. So all you'd have to do is go in and put all that information.
That's perfect. Thank you.
So for the people streaming, I'm not sure if you heard that. So Karen mentioned that if you do get hub certified through an MOA, they send us that information, which does automatically get uploaded into the hub directory on the CMBL.
How long does it take to get certified?
Through HMSDC?
No, for the Texas.
Through the comptroller, right now we're a little bit behind. It's about 8 to 10 week waiting period before you get assigned. And then once you've been assigned, it could be about 90 days max to get that. It just depends on our wait times. We actually have a very large influx of hub certifications, which is great. So we're trying to do that as best as we can. I'm sorry, I don't think I repeated the question. The question was how long it takes to get hub certified through the comptroller agency. But yeah, we're a bit at a waiting time. You can always check in if you've applied through this email, and we'll give you an update whenever you need it. But we're working our best to make that as fast as possible. Any other questions? Okay, I am going to hand it over to Laura and Kyle with DIR.
Hi, good morning. Can everybody hear me? So I'm Kyle Gavitt. I'm with the Department of Information Resources. We're here to go over our cooperative contracts program and just to give you a little bit more information on what we do as an agency. So the mission of the Texas Department of Information Resources is to serve Texas government by leading the state's technology strategy, protecting the state technology infrastructure, and offering innovative and cost-effective solutions for all levels of government. So our team has grown a lot over the last 3 years. If you've been around for a while, I'm sure you're familiar with Lynn Hottie. She's been with the program for a very long time. She's now our Deputy Chief Procurement Officer at DIR. Teresa Williamson is our Hub Program Manager. And then myself, Laura Zarate, and Brianna Ballinger are all Hub Coordinators with DIR. And then we are also joined by Tom Hay, who does a lot of our outreach and training. All right, so our contracting process. DIR competitively bids all of our contracts. We have established the statewide master contracts with vendors for products or services when sufficient customer demand exists. And then we post all of the requests for offers or RFOs to the ESBD. And then RFOs are generally posted for 30 days. Many of the contracts include multiple awards, and the contracts are awarded for a specific term. And just to follow up on the multiple awards, so if you see a contract that you would like to bid on, you're welcome to do that. And you don't have to be able to respond to all of the parts of the award, or I'm sorry, of the contract. So go ahead and make your submission for whatever parts it is you might be able to work with. Again, we do sometimes send out multiple awards for contracts. So our cooperative contracts program overview, that includes software, hardware, technology training, bulk purchasing, our deliverable-based IT services, and IT staffing. Some of the products that are offered under our cooperative contracts program, computers, software, networking equipment, printers, copiers, surveillance cameras, data storage, more recently with police departments, things like body cameras, drones. So we offer a wide array of products. This is not our entire list. This is just some of the main items that we have. And then some of our services include IT staffing services, technology-based training, end-user IT outsourcing, managed document output, as I mentioned earlier, our DBITs, cybersecurity services, and so on. Again, this is not a complete list of all of the services we offer, just kind of our main items. So what are the benefits of holding a DIR cooperative contract? So our eligible customers, which are, and I'll show you a list of those in a second, but that's mainly state agencies and higher education. They issue purchase orders directly to DIR vendors with the vendor DIR contract number noted on the customer's purchase order. The purchase orders are not issued to DIR. Eligible customers in Texas do not need an agreement with DIR to do business with DIR vendors for the cooperative contract holders. Agreements are required for customers to utilize our shared technology services contracts. And then state agencies are required to use DIR contracts first for their information technology purchases. And then it also gives vendors access to do business with institutions of higher education, local governments, school districts, and other eligible DIR customers, including out-of-state entities who hold a cooperative agreement with DIR. And so the list, as you can see, is pretty expansive. State agencies and institutions of higher education are required to use DIR, and there are roughly 183. And then we also work with local governments. There are over 6,200 of those in Texas. That includes cities, counties, public school districts, municipalities, junior college districts, and special purpose districts. Other organizations, just to point out a few, we are currently working on expanding our out-of-state offerings as well, but we also do hospitals, assistance organizations, ERCOT, LCRA, private schools, and then like other entities like volunteer fire departments. Okay, I'm gonna turn it over to Laura and she's gonna go over our hub goals.
Good morning. Good morning. Testing. Okay, you can hear me. Great. So Kyle was going over the benefits of vendors and all of the fabulous entities that you can do business with once you have a DIR contract. I do want to point out that there is no DIR list. It is a myth. Don't come and ask us, how do I get on the DIR list? You have to submit a proposal to one of the RFOs that we post to the ESBD, the Electronic State Business Daily that Taylor was speaking to. When 2 or more entities from this list reach out to DIR and tell us, we need computers, we need X software, we need, what is it? One of these things. We as DIR do our due diligence and put together an RFO. We put it to the ESBD and we allow all the vendors in Texas, out of Texas, to submit a proposal. Then we evaluate, and that might take us a while. So be patient, but also be responsive. Kyle and I are on the hub team within DIR. We look at your HSPs, those fabulous hub subcontracting plan portions of every proposal that we have. We are doing our due diligence so that all of the entities, the agencies, are able to meet their hub requirements. So those hub subcontracting plans, those 9 pages or so that are required to be part of your proposals, make sure that you do a good job, because that is a dead in the water kind of stop to your proposal. If they does not pass our very good evaluation of your HSP, your proposal is dead in the water. And then all of the other agencies and entities that want to use your IT services and products cannot use you. So we are very much in support of the statewide hub program. There are 6 different categories, but DIR doesn't do construction, so both of those categories we don't even really look at, sorry. But for the special trade, it's 32%, 32.9%. We have professional services, we're 23.7%. Other services and commodities are the 2 that we really look at. We are very much making sure that of the vendors that are utilizing their hub vendors or hub subcontractors, that they are trying to use them up to 26% for other services and 21.1% for commodities. So we're doing our due diligence. We need your help so that other agencies can do and meet their hub goals. Here's where it's real exciting. All of this has been very up here information. This is more concrete. Somebody said one time in a movie, show me the money. This is information from FY21 from our cooperative contracts. So where we post an RFO, all of the vendors are allowed to submit a proposal, and then agencies look at the contracts that are listed on our site and are able to give a purchase order directly to the vendors that are listed on our site under the different categories. $2.7 billion was utilized or expenditures with cooperative contracts in FY21. We don't have the FY22 numbers ready yet. They just closed, still getting finalized. But what's really exciting is that we were able to save state entities and local entities, K-12, $4.9 million through our cooperative contracts. $409 million, sorry, I always mess that up. So what is exciting about that is we are helping to use our taxpayer dollars more wisely because of our cooperative contracts. We know that all of the agencies and local governments and K-12 entities need tech. They need tech services, they need tech products. But we at DIR, we're adding value to their purchases by producing savings through our cooperative contracts. Here's real exciting, especially for hub coordinators. 34% was spent with hub vendors of all of this $2.7 billion in FY21. That's exciting. That is super exciting. But we're trying to make that increase. We're trying to increase that number, increase that percentage. We want to give back. We want to make sure that it's the pot of gold that the state of Texas has for expenditures. is spread around. So continue to submit your proposals, continue to use your HSPs and your hub vendors. Okay, so for the vendors, how do you get on the DIR list, which is a myth? The solicitation or the schedule of solicitation opportunities. This is what are the contracts or the solicitations that are coming down the pike. This is the page of things that are coming. You're more than welcome to grab this link, but it is also on our website. It will list all of the things, all of the ideas and contracts that are in the planning phase. Those things that are already into the pre-solicitation. So if you're jumping on this site for the first time and things are already in pre-solicitation, you need to hurry up and get ready because it's going to go for RFO, which is request for offer. We're going to have a deadline. Make sure you submit by the deadline. Everything is very much by deadlines with the state of Texas. And then the evaluation period. I know for DBITS, we had 400 responses. And we gave 100 awards, but it took a while for us to get through that evaluation because we're trying to do our due diligence, make sure that we are evaluating the proposals so that when the state agencies look to our contracts and they are going to be able to use the vendor, that the vendor is going to give them the best value for the product or service that they're having. We also have the negotiation. So you can see where your proposal, if you bid on, I think the next one that's coming up is web services. If you submit a proposal for web services, you can follow the process. There is also the contact information, so you can contact somebody within DIR and say, what's the status? Give me a status update so that you're not always in the dark. Just to walk you through how to find the schedule of solicitation opportunities. This is the main page for dir.texas.gov. I know it's really small, but there are tiles on the right side. Make sure I say this right. Selling through DIR. You'll click on that tile, and then right in the middle of the next page that comes up, selling through DIR is the schedule of solicitation opportunities right here. And it'll give you the list of things that are coming, where things are in the evaluation process. Here are some hub resources. Speaking to Lauren's presentation a little bit earlier, where the hub link, the CMBL, what Taylor was talking about, the Electronic State Business Daily. Here's a fabulous one, the hub coordinator list. And I'm seeing some hub coordinators in the audience, and we get blasted, all of us. Hi, I am with landscaping services. Okay, I have my hub certification. Here's my capability statement. Thank you. You're doing the right thing, except make it more pointed. Look for the agencies. Go down the Electronic State Business Daily. Look for the agencies that need your service and target your communication to those agencies. You will find that they will be more responsive. That is actually one of the better ideas that you can do. DIR has no landscaping whatsoever. So we're going to take your capability statement, we're going to say thank you. Best of luck. But maybe give it to TFC, who are in charge of all of the facilities statewide. And some other agencies that actually have landscaping needs. The hub reports are also a very good resource. The hub event calendar that Lauren keeps updated for all of us is another great idea, so you can see what some of the different events are going on statewide. And with that calendar is the economic opportunity calendar. In case you were wanting to get a hold of Kyle or myself, here are our emails as well as the other emails for our team. But I will direct you to primarily use the main dir.hub box email address. If you send it there, one of us will answer. As you can see, Kyle and I are out here in Houston. We're not in front of our computers. So if you were to send us an email today, we may not get to it till tomorrow, whereas there are other team members at home ready to respond to that email box. And Kyle's been out of town all week. So like if you had sent him an email, they might not get an email or a response until next Monday, but that is the quickest that we could respond if you send it right to Kyle. With that, I'm going to open it up for questions. Yes, ma'am.
So you said the RFO process takes a while. What is a while? A year? 6 months?
A year.
A year?
So, do you want to repeat the question?
Thank you. The question was, I had mentioned that the RFO process takes a while. What is a while? It will be posted to the Electronic State Business Daily for no less than 30 days. Usually is our usual posting time frame, and then the evaluations and negotiations can take anywhere between 6 months to a year. I've seen the DBITs, because of 400 responses, took a year. Another solicitation took less time. So I'm going to average between 6 months and a year. But please be responsive. Within that time of 6 months to a year, Kyle and I may be emailing you for clarification on your HSP. The procurement lead may be emailing you for clarifications within your proposal. So whatever email that you give to within your proposal, make sure that it is an email that somebody will be watching. Good question. Other questions? Go ahead.
How does the hub get involved with the RFO process? Because you said there's millions of people, and MD Anderson, we use DIR all the time. Yes. So that's why I'm so interested about it. But I do see that there's always hubs involved. How do they get themselves involved?
Perfect.
Dealing with the primes and stuff.
Perfect. That's a great question. So the question was, how does a hub get involved in the DIR contracts? There's two tracks, actually. One, if you are a big enough hub, or a hub that is ready and willing and has the capability and capacity to submit a proposal as a prime, by all means do so. If you cannot take on the entire scope of work, that's okay. Submit a proposal for the piece of the scope of work that you can commit to. Again, we award multiple contracts, and we will be awarding a contract to that piece that you may be able to answer to. Another way is to become a subcontractor for one of the other primes. And that's a really great way to get your foot in the door, get your feet wet, start getting work, start figuring out how this works, start getting your name in the conversations. Also, what makes DIR very unique is that there are opportunities to become a reseller. A reseller is very exciting because you can be awarded a purchase order directly from an agency and not be the prime on the contract. For example, the Dell contract. They have listed several hub vendors as resellers, certified resellers under the Dell contract. As an agency, I'm going to pick on HHSC because she's my friend. If HHSC needs to get 500 new computers, new Dell laptops, they can award, or first of all, they have to ask for quotes, pricing quotes from 3 or 6 vendors, depending on how much the contract is worth or the purchase order is worth. Let's just say it's for less than $1 million, and so that would be 3 quotes. They can ask for quotes from 3 hub vendors, allowing the hub vendors to be the vendor that they reach out to, and then they would award to that hub vendor. And it's still a Dell laptop. Everybody wins. HHSC gets hub credit, the hub vendor gets the order, and Dell gets whatever they get, however the contract is split out. Good question. The other way, is there another way?
Nope. You said our ways.
Okay, sorry, I lost it. But thank you. That was a good question. There was another question somewhere, maybe?
Can I add really quick?
By all means.
Since there are so many state agencies here, I wanted to add to what Laura was saying. That's kind of the low-hanging fruit that we have the opportunity to use. So on our contracts, we do list all of the hubs that are available. Take advantage of that, get that. It makes your agency look good, it makes us look good, and you're helping out hubs. So if you have questions or concerns on navigating those contracts, reach out to us. We're happy to help with that. The contract managers are listed for all of our contracts on our website, so definitely reach out to them. They want you to purchase through hubs as well.
Question.
So if you're a hubs vendor and you're looking to gain access to the primes, do you have a list of prime vendors on your site that I can go and see? to try and get
Yes.
on?
If this was live, I would take you down the dir.texas.gov page. But under the 4 tiles to the right, we saw the one selling through DIR. The next one is to search vendors and contracts. And while I would never search landscaping, I would maybe search D-bits or cabling, and you can start pulling all of the vendors who are the prime vendors, as well as their resellers that are listed underneath those contracts. Sorry, the question was, is there a list for prime vendors that subcontractors or hub vendors could search to so that they can start the relationships as a subcontractor? And there is a list. It is under the DIR website, dir.texas.gov, selling through either, or under the tile that says to search through for vendors or contracts. Other questions? We welcome you to come and visit us upstairs on the 8th floor. We're in the corner. We're next to the statewide hub. So we have tons of swag. Come and help us make sure that we don't take all of that back to Austin. Thank you.
So our next program is going to be a panel discussion. Yeah.
How you doing? Oh, okay, cool.
Do we need to do a test on the panelists' mics? Oh.
Hello, hello.
Check, check, cash money order.
Check, check, check.
The mics are good, y'all.
Sibilance. Sibilance. Spent too many years up on stage. Giving my checks.
Well, just in general. Okay, so they didn't give me.
They have mics. Oh, I guess they only go to the streaming.
They didn't bring the mic in.
We have time. Yeah.
Can you stall? Because we're really early and they were going to send me somebody down here to help with the AV. Because we're not over AV.
Oh, okay.
So we gotta figure it out.
Okay. We're looking for another microphone. So does anyone have any questions, general questions about procurement processes or certification? Any questions about anything else? I can try to answer other questions.
Turn it off in a minute.
We're going to get a mic for y'all.
Sir, do you have a question in the back?
They haven't started yet.
Yeah, I was going to ask, do you have an actual protege program? And if you do, something to do about it?
All state agencies do have a mentor protege program. Basically, to save time, because there's a lot of encapsulated with the mentor protege program, you can get on the CPA's website, and they have a full process of how to go about doing it.
So I think the answer to your question is you need to determine which agency you would probably be doing work business with, and visit with that hub coordinator, try and match you with a mentor. That's the best way to start.
So to repeat what Maya said, the best way to get involved in the Mentor Protege program is to decide which agency you want to work with, reach out to them, and they'll walk you through that process and get it started with you.
Is there a guarantee that the mentor needs to give business to the protege when they're in the mentor protege program?
The question is there a guarantee,
Business.
the guarantee for business if you mentor with an agency? And the answer is no. Cute.
It's strictly a volunteer program, so.
Does the mentor have to be in the CMBL?
Yes.
Yes.
So the rule right now does not require, the new rule is going to require that.
Okay. So currently,
But
no.
We've
but
always asked them to be on the CMBL, always.
best practices, yes, we
Yes.
would ask that
Our
you be on the
best
CMBL.
practice.
And we are about to redo all of the rules, and that will change that it is going to be mandatory. Yes.
It'll be in the rules, yes, it'll be required.
It's always been best practice for UT.
Any other questions? We're still waiting on a mic situation, just as an update. We could telephone it, just play telephone for a little bit until we get it.
Okay, if you want to go ahead.
Okay, let's try it. Let's just.
I think it is working. Yeah, it's working now.
Yeah?
Yeah. This mic?
Oh.
Well, no, I can clip it back on. I'm just saying. She said something about this mic has nothing to do with us. It's for live stream.
Yeah, that's what
Test.
Okay. Okay. I didn't know that. Did you?
Yay! Okay, thanks for being patient with us. So I want to introduce our panelists. First, we have Karen Gross, who is the manager of the Supplier Diversity Programs and the Hub Coordinator at UTMB Health. You want to wave, Karen?
I'm sitting in front of my name.
True. Next, we have Milan Kemp, who is the Hub Support Specialist at the Procurement and Contracting Hub Program Office at Health and Human Services.
Hello.
Do I need this? Oh, okay. Is this better? Yay! And then last, we have Jack Hammond, who is the Hub and MWBE Programs Coordinator at Texas Department of Agriculture.
Good morning, everybody.
Ooh. Sorry, Tiffany. All right, so the first question, what advice would you give to a newly certified Hub vendor who wants to do business with the state?
First thing I would say is to make sure that your CMBL profile is correct. Make sure your contact information is correct, your phone number, your email, make sure you have a website on there, your NIGP codes. I cannot stress that enough. It is very hard for us to develop a bid list if your NIGP codes are not correct. Don't go in and put every NIGP code that you can think of. Put your core business. If you put 2,000 NIGP codes, we will not take you seriously. So you cannot do mortuary services and window washing. That's a true big story for Mike.
I second that, but I also say two things that are really important is visibility and networking. So attending events such as these, and then also making sure you are on that CMBL, making sure that you do have the applicable NIGP codes, as they say, don't list a whole bunch of them that don't apply to you. But the hub coordinators, the purchasers, we all look at those NIGP codes, and that list is generated. They can know who to reach out to for that solicitation. And just, it's networking is a big thing. Coming to all the outreach events, the ones that apply to the type of business that you want to, the state entity that you want to do business with. And then also understanding that entity, because if you're, like, I believe it was DIR who mentioned, if you're reaching out to a business that has nothing to do with the type of business that you're offering, then your sales pitch is null and void.
Hi, good morning. Wow. This definitely works. Okay, so again, to encapsulate everything that's been said up to this point, make sure you are absolutely 100% clear with your business goals and what it is you want to assign your NIGP codes to. Make sure that's what you, anything that you put on there as far as NIGP codes is what, when we send out solicitations, that's exactly what it's going to go to. Once that, of course, to be active on the CMBL and make sure your registration for Hub is active. The two biggest points that I'd like to make clear is, number one, be responsive. When we send something out to you, make sure you go through that thing and you understand exactly what it is we're looking for. Because the state, we operate on what's called best value. So we're not necessarily looking for the overall best price, we're looking for the overall what's going to fit our scope of work the best. So make sure, again, when you go through that thing from top to bottom, backwards, forwards, left and right, make sure you are responsive. And make sure being responsive also means that you have filled everything out correctly. Like Laura mentioned earlier, when you're doing the HSP, there's a lot of nuts and bolts to that piece right there. And the hard, cold fact is, when that HSP is filled out, if there's something missed, now if there's something like a signature missed, we can allow for a correction on that. But if there's a certain process that comes with that HSP, there's certain timelines that have to be followed. If those timelines aren't followed, and you submit your solicitation, you submit your response, it's dead in the water. And that's the last thing. I promise you that is a heartbreaking experience. When we see a response come in and it looks great, but the HSP's a fail. It's dead in the water. And I've done that a few times, and that is a very painful experience, and I can promise you that the brass on our side of the table don't like it when that happens either, because then it's a hard explanation. Look, this is what happened. So make sure you're responsive, make sure you're filling out all the check marks correctly, and if you have questions, please call. Every solicitation has contact information, the primary purchaser and the hub coordinator. Those are your two primary sources of information. We will find an answer for you. Do not wait till the last minute. The second you have questions, get with us. The other side of the coin is be patient. Be responsive, but be patient. That's something else Laura brought up. That's actually one of the things I was going to say. Be responsive, but be patient. We are the arbiters of state taxpayer dollars. We have to make sure that anytime we put something out there, we have to make sure that if we get called on the table for something, we can justify our actions. So, again, be responsive and be patient. Thank you.
Just to piggyback on what he said about the HSPs, that is a state of Texas document. It's a requirement. We have to follow the requirements on the HSP, and we are audited. So it's not a UTMB document. It doesn't belong to any of us. It actually is a state of Texas document, so it's very, very important.
Is it part of the procurement process?
It is part of the procurement process. Every purchase over $100,000 must have a hub plan. If you're involved in JOC type responses, it's usually, depending on the agency, it can start much lower. We can actually lower the dollar threshold.
And can you tell us a little bit about the bid notification process, how you create that list, who you decide to reach out to?
So make sure you know the difference between a state agency and a university. Universities do not have to post their bid notices on the ESBD, on the Electronic State Business Daily. A lot of us do, but some of us have our own bid websites. So true state agencies have to post on the Electronic State Business Daily. Universities, higher education groups, a lot of times have their own bid websites. So make sure you know that, have that information. So if you're looking for a specific university and you don't see them on the ESBD, find out where their bid website is. Know your hub coordinator. Your hub coordinator gives you the best information. We usually take your info. We may not have something for you today, but a month from now, I can pull something and say, oh, so-and-so, I could send them a bid. So make sure you know your hub coordinator. It's very important.
Also, one of the things I do is on a weekly basis, I reach out based on the active procurements, and they have the NIGP codes listed. I'll email folks from those NIGP codes. If your information is not incorrect on the CMBL, I get a whole bunch of undeliverables. So whether it's a typo in your email or this person is no longer working for your business, make sure you keep it up to date.
Remember we talked about that? The biggest reason you're probably not getting bids is because you don't have the right NIGP codes and your contact information isn't correct. So that's just another point that we will hammer in until we stop getting bounce back emails.
That's correct.
Anything else, Jack, did you want to add to that?
Nope, we've pretty much covered all the bases, I think.
Next question. How do hub vendors get in contact with your agency and learn about your procurement process?
Attend events such as this. Hub coordinators are here. We have expos across the state of Texas. You may go to Dallas and they have events there. There's different hub coordinators. Some of us travel to all of the shows, so you will see our faces. You have our business card. Make sure you have a relationship with us. I wouldn't say call us every day. We won't answer the phone because we're at events like this. You can email us. We do respond. Again, please be patient. There's one of us and I think 17,000 something certified hub vendors. So know your hub coordinator. Attend events like this. Make sure you know where you're going to bid. So I'm a hospital. I can't tell you how many times I get somebody trying to sell me sporting equipment. I don't have a sports team. We are a teaching research hospital. So if you're looking to sell me a basketball, I won't buy it. So, and please don't get offended when I say I'm not buying your sporting equipment. So also know that who you're contacting too.
It's true. That's definitely true. Another thing is for HHSC, you can go to our website and under, I believe it's the business tab, it'll have a contracting with HHS, lead you to a page where you can look at, click on procurement opportunities. You'll see our open enrollment opportunities. You'll see our grant opportunities. Those are always posted. You'll also see the ones that have been awarded, so you get an idea of what sort of opportunities are there. Reach out to, actually don't reach out. I would say go on to ESBD. Go on to ESBD because we do post our active procurements there, both for HHSC. As you might know, there's an umbrella, so there's HHS and then there's DSHS, that's the Department of State Health Services. And there's postings for both agencies, so look on there. And if you have questions, you can reach out to the Hub department and we'll do our best to help you.
Again, wanted to reiterate, always look at the ESBD. That's where pretty much all state agencies post everything by way of solicitations. Always look there. As far as the Texas Department of Agriculture is concerned, if you want to send me an email directly, feel free to do so at jack.hammond@texasagriculture.gov. I'm also upstairs as an exhibitor, so if you want to swing by and ask a few questions, I'll be more than happy to answer.
I'd also like to mention that if you are in the construction arena, please know the local companies that we do business with. You can reach out to me. I'll tell you we do business with Bond Construction. Sign up on their list because they will be the ones. We will send out a bid. Most likely, they're one of the people who respond, and they'll have to do a hub subcontracting plan. So if you're a subcontractor, you actually need to get on their list, not on my list. So you might want to do that. I know that the Vaughn folks are here today, so you might want to meet up with them. There's very little construction that there's no construction that we do on our campus. It doesn't go through an RFP process or through our JOC. We have 2 JOC contractors. I will tell you they're the Trevino Group and York Construction. Make sure you get on their list if you're a sub and you want to do work, because they put out those HSPs for our projects.
How can a pre-bid list help them connect the subs with primes?
Say that again.
How can a pre-bid help the subs connect with prime?
So attend our pre-bids. We post.
Let me repeat that question. How can say that again, Maya?
How can pre-bids assist subcontractors and prime vendors?
How can pre-bids assist subcontractors and prime vendors?
So we will put out a solicitation, and within the solicitation, it'll tell you when we have the pre-bid, time, date. Since COVID, we do them virtually, so it's very easy. Log on, make sure that when we do introductions, we know you're there. We put that list out, we post that list on our bid website, and the primes can pull from there, and we actually send the list to them. Primes can pull from there. They also will pull from the CMBO because they're required to. But those pre-bids are a great place to know who the prime contractors are.
Do you have any follow up on that?
No, I'd say in doing business, you want to ask questions. There is a period of time where you can ask questions. When a solicitation is active, there's a time when you can't ask questions. So know that, because take advantage of that time, and especially if there are hub subcontracting requirements. We have our hub coordinators who are there to support you if you need a training on the HSP, if you need them to look over your HSP before you submit the proposal, because they can't help you after the fact. It's already submitted. So take advantage of your resources prior to submission.
I just wanted to reiterate what was mentioned earlier. When we do pre-solicitations, we will send messages out that we have a solicitation getting ready to be ready to go live. So if you, again, this goes back to the NIGP codes. Make sure your NIGP codes are up to date, your contact information is good, and you may be invited.
And for those hub vendors that are bidding as a prime, you are required to do a hub plan as well. There's no exception. No exception. You're a hub vendor bidding as a prime, you will have to submit a state of Texas hub plan.
And what advice would you give to hub vendors who want to increase their business with the state?
Honestly, you really need to make sure your NIGP codes are correct. I can't.
Don't do it.
I can't specify that enough, because really we pull our bid list, and you should see. And I said earlier about the mortuary services. Every couple of years, UTMB bids out mortuary services. We pull a list, and I had it was back in June. I had a guy respond. I sent it to everybody on the list, and it did say that he was a window washing company, but because he put mortuary services, I'm required to send it based on that NIGP code. So when he responded, I said, I'm a little leery of this because you say window washing company, and he goes, well, I'm really a funeral director, but I also run a window washing company. And I said, yeah, we probably won't do business with you because I said, where would you do this work? And he goes, oh, out of my window washing company. I'm like, okay, yeah, no, thank you. So.
Yeah, I definitely get that sentiment because I've sent out emails and somebody will come back and say, we're not gonna bid because we don't do da-da-da-da. Well, you were listed. Another thing, like I said, definitely take advantage of your resources prior to submission. Our hub coordinators are experts in, reviewing those documents and making sure they look up to par, so you're not disqualified for your HSP or any part of the proposal. I'd say if you find out that you weren't selected for a bid, go back and look at the bid tab. Go back and ask questions about why what would have made you more competitive? What was missing? And that's trial and error in any situation. If you don't pass the test, what went wrong? And then utilize those resources next time.
Who do they contact to go back to?
I'm sorry?
When you say go back, who do they contact?
Well, first of all, the bid tab, but then you can also, if it's an issue with your HSP, you can go back and ask a hub coordinator. You can go and ask the contact if it's the proposal overall. Those are the individuals I would ask if, for whatever reason, you didn't get the bid.
Okay, I feel like I'm going into teacher mode now. Okay, everybody, let's recap. 4 key letters. They are the, say it with me, NIGP. Make sure you are clear on that. It's the same. We're going to say it again and again and again because as you've heard numerous times, you have to be clear on number one, what it is you do, because when we have something in that specific range, in that specific category, that's who we are going to reach out to. And again, be responsive and be patient. Spend enough time, you will get business from us at some point in time, providing you are the best value, providing you provide the best value. Okay?
Also, just from a professional standpoint, I've even received emails where someone just sent a question, didn't introduce themselves, they don't have a signature line. There's no point of reference for me to know what your business is, who you're affiliated with, and what you're talking about. So it could look like spam if you're not presenting yourself professionally. So I would say that's a turnoff as well, even though I personally don't make any decisions on the solicitation, but if you're reaching out to someone who does like that, they're not going to take you seriously.
Correct. The day the bid opens, don't start asking questions because we do, if there's a hub planner involved, we have to review the hub plans before the bids even start to be evaluated. So if you're don't ask questions the day you submit the bid, basically. Then contact your hub coordinator, they'll help you with the process. You're not privy to every piece of information, so a lot of those have to go through the public information group. So I would send you the information you need to make your request. I was going to make another point and totally forgot. So, but yes, just make sure you can be in contact with your hub coordinator. We're here to help you. We're your resource.
I'm glad you said something about the emails too, because we'll get emails every once in a while and it'll just say hub ? And I'm like, we take IT security very seriously at Comptroller, so I'll fish that.
So we actually, because of the fraud that we've been having, across the U.S., UTMB has locked down a lot of our emails. Yesterday, I did get, you said that about the question mark, in the subject line, there was a question mark, and it said, the question was like, are you going to be at Expo? They didn't even sign it. And it came from a Gmail account like, apple25@gmail.com. And so I never responded because my IT security folks says do not respond to anything that you can't prove is a good valid email. So please, in the subject line, put the RFP number or the name of the RFP, the name of your company, and make sure you have a signature line with good information in the email.
And one more thing too, I know some people are just starting out as well. It's a good thing to have a capability statement, a professional capability statement, something that's clear cut, that says what your core competencies are, what your certifications are, your NIGB codes, a summary of your background of your business, not something that's just typed up in the moment, because if it's too cluttered, we can't, nobody's gonna focus. It's like a resume almost, or a business portfolio. So please make sure you have that, because that's one of the first things I ask from the hub department is, do you have a capability statement? Because I may even forward that to our purchasing department so they have it on hand if something comes up.
Correct. Okay, last question. What upcoming procurement opportunities can you share with our audience?
So I will have a list upstairs. I do have a booth. Most of it is medical type equipment. I think there's some cardiac cath products, and most of it is medical. I think there is a couple of bids coming up for maybe generator maintenance, but my list is upstairs, so drop by and visit with me. I will just be upfront with you. I don't need staffing, and I don't need promotional items right now. So, but please come by and visit me for, if you have medical products and construction type. I'm always looking for construction.
Okay, so as far as the spot bids, we have about 22 of them. All of them, as far as I know, are commodities. So different manufacturer parts and things of that nature. But we've also brought a list, a hard copy of what we have on the ESPD for both agencies, the HHS and DSHS. DSHS has about 7 and HHS about 30. I think, some janitorial things on there. So yes, please come by our booth.
For Texas Agriculture, we've got 2 rather substantial TV commercial type solicitations getting ready to go live. We didn't have them ready to bring here to spot bid. Actually, one exceeded the limit, but they are going to be going active on the CMBL here, or CMBL, I always get that confused, ESBD. If you have questions, if you are somebody who has capability, if you do TV and film work, can do TV spots, commercials, voiceover work, things like that, I'd be interested in having a conversation with you. And if you can specifically do it in the Austin Central Regional area, we definitely would need to have a talk.
Lastly, I'd like to say, if we send you a bid, please respond. If you're not intending to bid, just say no bid, just so we know that you got the bid and you're not interested in it. And if you're going to bid, please make sure you meet the time and date specified on the RFP or ITV. That's very, very important.
Any other final thoughts?
I think we covered it just very well. CMBLNIGP codes.
ESBD.
ESBD.
LOL. Don't do it.
Because we're here to support HUB.
Yeah, we did. Jack, if you assist. Nice. Does anyone have any questions for our panelists? I'm going to take you. Hold on, I'm going to go back first.
Oh.
Here, I'll take. Let's be smart.
Thank you. So just to follow up on the mentor protege question that I asked earlier, very informative, I appreciate that. So what I've done in the past is I've reached out to a couple of vendors who provide the same services that I provide, and we're recently awarded contract opportunities. and I tell them about the Mentor Protege program. A lot of them don't know about it, and my question is, what's the value add for these mentors? How do I start that conversation? Sometimes I don't hear back from them. So what's in it for them to take on a protege?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay,
there's several different responses you can give.
One thing I can say for the mentor, it can be used as a good faith effort. So for instance, if you're in a mentor protege agreement and you decide to bid on something and you're awarded, if there are hub requirements and your protege fits the bill, they have the capability to assist in that bid as well. They can utilize your services as a subcontractor, and that counts as a good faith effort. So that's something to keep in mind for our prime contractors, because oftentimes you have to go, I mean, either way, you have to do your due diligence in reaching out if it has hub subcontracting requirements. But that's one of the ways you can fulfill that requirement to make a good faith effort.
One thing I would say about that is they're not required to utilize you. So it's a lot of work for them to mentor you. So that's usually a challenge right there, challenge in itself. Is it good if the prime is trying to get the hub participation? Yes, absolutely. But they don't have to use you.
Yeah, I mean, they don't have to, but that is, if they're looking for the benefit, that is a convenience. That is something they can consider, especially if you have what it takes to fulfill that subcontracting requirement. So that's what I would say.
You've basically covered exactly what I was going to say. It's a voluntary program. That's what you have to remember. It's a voluntary program.
Yeah. But one thing I will say is, because I often handle that for our agency, we get an influx of proteges, which is great, but we do need those mentors. And if for some reason you come and you say, I do have a mentor in mind, that's great. As long as they're meeting the requirements to be a mentor, and then that's awesome, because that eliminates us having to go and scout for a mentor for you.
Correct.
So let me remind everybody, I'm the manager of the statewide hub program, and the Mentor Protege program is a program that we establish the rules for. We set the forms. It is a voluntary program within the statewide hub program for mentors and proteges. The intention is to grow the hub. That's why it's so hard sometimes to find mentors that are willing to take the time and focus on a hub and partner with them. Now, as they said earlier, there's a good faith effort requirement in that, or allowance in that. So when you're bidding as a mentor on a certain solicitation and your protege can provide that subcontracting opportunity, then that waives any further good faith effort procurement requirement, and they can use that protege as their subcontractor. They have to list it on the hub subcontracting plan, and they have to let the agency know that they're going to work on this solicitation together. So again, it's a volunteer program aimed at growing the hub, and the mentors volunteer to grow those hubs. The reason you have to go to those agencies is those agencies and universities have their internal hub program. They're encouraged to sponsor mentor protege agreements, but they're not required. Again, it's a volunteer thing, so it's important for you to decide what agency you might work with, and if you're a prime, the agency hub coordinator may come to you and say, hey, we've got a hub we're working with, we'd like for you to mentor them and work with them to grow them. So that's kind of, if you have any more questions about the hub program, I'll be happy to talk to you about it.
Any other questions for the panelists?
Okay, one of the questions from hubs, they always, and I like about the formal bids, But what about the informal bids? How would they actually get access to those?
Again, know your hub coordinator. I mean, your hub coordinator is your contact to the agency, and we can tell you, hey, yes, there's something that's going to be just so. Know the difference in state agencies and universities because we all have different dollar thresholds too. So, contact us, say, hey, do you have any opportunities for X? And we're happy to help you. I don't know how you do that at your agency, but.
Well, one of the things I do often have is we can be reached at we have an outreach inbox. And when vendors reach out, again, we ask for that capability statement because we can say, hey, to our purchaser department, we have this hub vendor. Here's their capability statement. This is what they do. If for any reason you have an appropriate procurement opportunity, feel free to reach out to them for consideration. Again, we can't guarantee the business, but what we can do is put visibility on you. So definitely.
TDA pretty much operates like all state agencies in that when we reach out to, if we have an informal, which for the state of Texas is 10,000 to 25,000, we, again, what are those 4 letters? NIGP. We look for people within those codes. We can't stress that enough. So for as far as informal, we reach out to anybody in that NIGP code. And the one thing that we have to a lot of times do is we're looking for people in specific regions. So again, that's another thing that we look for is like if we're doing something like at one of our shops out in Giddings or out in Lubbock or even here in Houston. So what we're looking to do is we'll look number 1 by NIGP codes and then by region. So if you're a business that has a specific code, it's another thing I wanted to point out earlier. Specify the regions that you can work in. So if we don't know exactly where you're working in, there's a probability you might get overlooked. So there's something to be considered of. Make sure you specify that, like she was mentioning earlier, in your scope, in your probability statements. Let us know where you can function. Yeah, that's big. Yep. Let us know what regions you operate in. And again, as far as TDA, we reach out on an as-needed basis. We don't always have. A lot of times we get this, we'll get questions at expos like this. How do we do business with you? It's on an as-needed basis. We don't always have something pop up, and there isn't anything consistent. So again, be patient. Well, something will come your way at some point in time.
One of the things I'd like to mention is group purchasing organizations. Make sure that you visit with our friends at DIR, Department of Information Resources. Some of those IT procurements, we go direct to DIR. We have a very limited staff, and it's great for us to be able to go to DIR and buy all our IT stuff. So we don't have to bid, it's done for us. There are other group purchasing organizations out there, other GPOs. Make sure you understand what they are and you can bid to them, and then we can buy from you through those GPOs. Again, our staff's very small, so the best way for us is to go through a process that's already been established for us. So if you'd like, the UT system has a list of GPOs that are accredited under our program. We do not use every GPO out there. So let us, if you have questions about that. I know Keith and Gabrielle are here as well, and they can help you with that too. If you can come by my booth, I can talk to you about it. So, do y'all have any other? Okay.
So is the HUB program a set-aside program? And second part is, if I'm HUB certified, or HUB zoned, am I also HUB certified?
So the State of Texas HUB program is not a set-aside program. There is a difference between a HUB zone, that is a federal designation, and if you're a State of Texas HUB, that is a state designation. So, does that answer your question, Mr. Williams?
Yes, thank you.
I planted him in the audience.
Any other
You
questions?
think I'm joking?
Yes, hello. So in the RFP process that you have, I'm wondering if you have any specific requirement or evaluation criteria for the vendor to be certified in either HUB or MBE certified. Is there any specific requirement?
So there's no provision in the state rules that say that we have to require a company to be HUB or a certain percentage. There's a good faith effort number in there, but there's no state requirement.
Yes, I think the requirements are more so about the specifications that the program is looking for the service or the good. And the various evaluation, it depends on the group and who they're servicing. What program are they looking?
Cost, quality.
Cost, yeah,
Yeah.
those things.
But HUB is not a criteria.
No.
Understood, understood.
They answered it.
Yeah, speaking about the evaluation criteria, again, buyer perspective, is there any specific criteria in regards to sustainability that you put into the evaluation?
It depends on the type of procurement.
Right.
Yeah,
Understood.
not all procurements are the same.
Got it, thank you.
I was just going to add.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
No, no
Sorry.
worries.
Oh,
I just wanted to emphasize, as far as RFP is concerned, pay attention to the scope of work. That's the meat and potatoes of any solicitation, is what is in the scope of work. So if you read through that, that's basically what it comes down to. That's how we award best values, who can meet that scope of work. It says right in our procurement manual that we're not to give weight to hubs as much as we'd like to. We cannot give weight to hubs. It's all about best value to the state.
Correct. Correct.
Any other questions?
So I'm wondering how, so we are in the oil field industry. As a buyer, we wanted to promote some of our vendors to be diverse suppliers. So is there any specific motivation that we can share with them to be a HUB certified supplier or the MBE certified supplier that you are aware of?
In the oil field industry?
Yeah, oil and gas.
So we're mostly state agencies, so I don't know if, unless you're selling fuel, you would contact the state for the Texmas contract and the Railroad Commission, but yeah, as a state agency, yeah, oil and gas products, we don't typically buy that kind of stuff. Again, you know, I'm a hospital. There's no way I would buy oil and gas stuff.
Yeah, let me rephrase that question. How can we motivate our suppliers to be a certified supplier? For example, the HUB certification or MBE certification. Is there any specific motivation that we can share?
For a
with them?
state agency, we only, I was gonna say, I'm gonna turn this over to Maya, but I will just tell you as a state agency, we look for state of Texas HUB certified companies because we have a report that we return into the state and to the legislature at the first 6 months of the year and then the last 6 months of our fiscal year rather. And it's very, very important that they be state certified. So Maya,
I'm gonna let you.
So the state of Texas is a good faith effort. There's no preference, there's no set aside. Every agency has a different responsibility, every university has a different focus. So it really depends on what exactly you're looking for, what you want to do. We'd have to identify that state entity. And sometimes there are local governments that are looking for that, so that might be a separate outside of the state. It could be on the federal side. So there's different areas. I'm not sure what you're focusing on, but the only agency off the top of my head is Railroad Commission that I'm thinking would do something like that. And I'd have to go look at, there's over 185 agencies and universities that report their expenditures to us. Everybody has a different mission and a different goal, purpose, and that's what they do.
And that goes back to know who you're marketing to, because I buy bloods, reagents, organs, hospital services. So oil and gas is like not even on my radar.
Absolutely. I definitely do the research. I think oftentimes it's easy to get caught up. If you're used to pitching to private sector versus state, we're very different. We have a lot of laws and policies we have to follow in doing procurement and doing business with anyone. So understanding us as an entity, whether it's a university or an agency, is important compared to doing business with a private sector business.
It's kind of interesting being on this side because I kind of be the one to encapsulate everything. To review, in simplest terms for your vendors, the first thing they should really do is, again, go back and understand what their products are, and then research around the state to see if, number one, the state even uses their products. That's one of the biggest things right there. Is it a product that the state, anyone as a state agency would actually use? That's the first thing you want to identify. And if that's the case, then figure out, okay, what's the process of becoming a hub? And then, again, like for example, the first entity that comes to mind is going to be the Railroad Commission. If one of the companies you're talking about has a product at the Railroad Commission, or maybe an agency that we're not aware of yet that could actually use those products, reach out to them directly and say, hey, this is what we do. At some point in time, is this something you could utilize? Does that make sense?
One thing we didn't mention this whole time is capacity. Do you have the capacity to do business with a University of Texas, a University of Houston, a Texas A&M, Department of Health and Human Services, Agriculture? If you've got to make sure that you can fund all of us. Our pay is 30 days if your invoice is correct. It's a prompt payment, but can you fund all of us? So make sure you have the capacity to do that kind of business. That's very important. I don't think any of us mentioned that.
No.
Also, the other thing I'd say is sometimes I get inquiries from vendors about they want to do their pitch, they want to do a PowerPoint presentation to someone. Sometimes we can refer you to a particular department, but it really, I would venture to say it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
It's better to offer your services. If you're doing open enrollment or you're doing something that's based on an application, I could see that. But then being able to present is really based on what solicitations are available, and that's through a proposal. It's different than other businesses. It's not going to guarantee that you get business. What guarantees, what gives you an opportunity, I should say, to possibly do business is your proposal. It's your bid, and it has to be an active procurement. Being in front of a particular department head, giving them a presentation does not do that.
Jack, I'll give this to you.
Let me announce to everyone who is virtual, we will end this session virtually at 10:15. So if you see us cut off, then that's what's going on.
Again, wanted to that's an excellent point about capacity. And this also kind of touches base with what I said before, be responsive and be patient. One of the things about doing business with the state is it tends to move at a little bit slower pace. We have to go through a lot of, to use the ugly word, bureaucracy. Again, we are the arbiters of taxpayers' dollars, so we have to make sure that we're doing it correctly and we can account for everything we do along the way. So again, be responsive and be patient, and make sure that when you actually do business with us, when you respond to our scope of work, understand that it's going to take time to, number one, get it through the system, and again, go through the process of getting paid. So make sure when you're doing business with us, you take all that into consideration, because the last thing we want to do is say, okay, we're going to give you a contract, you get 6 months into a 12-month service contract, and you have to fold because you didn't take care of business on your side of the fence.
And unfortunately, that has happened. I mean, you get 6 months into it and they go, ooh, we didn't think this was gonna happen, so we have to back out. So we have to start our RFP process all over again, and that's not fun for us or the vendors, so.
You could add to that vendor performance.
Huh.
I could add to
Oh,
that.
the vendor performance?
Yeah. Vendor
Yeah,
performance.
you know what?
If the contract values.
Yeah, you know what, I don't like to touch on that, because to me, that's more of a negative.
No, no, if you fold, then you.
Yeah.
The next customer would like to know that. So.
Yeah, true. Want to focus on the positive thing.
Any final questions? There's one more. Okay.
So I'm going to do the review this time.
Okay.
Just a quick review. We want hubs ready, capable, and able to do business with the state of Texas. So we talked about the capability statement. When you do a capability statement, focus that capability statement on that entity that you're talking to. Don't create a capability statement that's going to capture 185 state entities that all do different things. If you see something that doesn't catch their eye, it will go in this little box on the floor. If they see something they like and they know it's coming up, they're going to put it in this top drawer. It's important for you as a active certified hub to check your hub directory, NIGP codes. Don't overlist them.